Ahava blessings and welcome to this video. I am going to be sharing some Desert Rose guidance from the Desert Rose Oracle cards for the month of Nissan that is coming up, Nissan Aries, with the new lunar cycle that begins between the April 8th, April 9th. And we will also be experiencing a solar eclipse. And so the cards that came out, they're very, very interesting. But first, we're just going to talk about the month of Nissan, the month of Aries, because this month is fueled with a lot of fire, right? This month traditionally celebrates the Passover feast. This month commemorates our leaving slavery and going into freedom. And remember that these holidays exist, or holidays are portals, they're really portals, exist before religion, right? They're very, very powerful portals that we can all tune into and receive the energy and the wisdom. And it doesn't really matter what spiritual path you're on, right? You can be on any spiritual path and still listen to this information and maybe open up to receive guidance. And so the month of Nissan Aries has a few activations that I want to mention, because there's so many, but I'm going to mention the really important ones. Renewal and rebirth, that's really important. Liberation and freedom, and I'll be talking about that today. Miracles and divine intervention, the parting of the Red Sea, beginning of a redemption period, right? And leadership and initiative. And we can see all of these traits aligned with Aries, because the month of Nisan is the month of Aries, and the Aramaic Hebrew letter that created the zodiacal frequency of Aries is the letter He. And so what I really want to talk about here is freedom and slavery, right? And also leadership and initiative. These are the activations that I'm feeling very, very strongly right now, because all of this is happening as we are on a Mercury retrograde. And even though Mercury retrogrades are really difficult for some of us, I think it's an opportunity always to slow down and to start to listen to the messages, because Mercury, as being the frequency of the energy that brings messages from the heavens, but also we can send out a message to the heavens. It gives us this opportunity again to slow down and be very cautious with our words, with all of our transactions, with all of our communication, which is something that we're not mindful of every day. And so it is a blessing to be able to slow down and be very, very mindful of what we are saying and how we are relating with the world and with everyone else. And so we start the month of Nisan, this cycle, the month of Nisan Aries, in a Mercury retrograde, and then we've got this solar eclipse. Now, in the ancient lineages, all of the ancient lineages, whether it be Hebrew, Kabbalah, Christian mysticism, Hindu, eclipses aren't something good, right? They're not a fun energy. That's just the way it is, right? Even in some lineages, we're not even supposed to go outside in an eclipse. They're just not positive energies, yet there is a sense of concealment of light, right? And anytime there is an energy that is chaotic, that is off, that conceals, it is for our growth. Remember that even though an energy isn't beneficial or positive, it happens so that we can tune into the growth period. And I just wanted to share a little bit of what I wrote here about the solar eclipse energies in general, right? And so we need to understand that in the Aramaic creation spirituality, we can call it like that, we can call it Hebrew mysticism, Christian mysticism, Sophianic Christianity. There's so many ways to call this, and it's all connected. In the tree of life, the Tiferet, the heart chakra, represents the sun, right? And so as it is a solar eclipse in these ancient teachings, there is something being activated and cleansed in the heart. And also it is very important to see how we feel when we're around a solar eclipse, because it could activate a lot of pain and trauma that we have felt, not just in this life, but in past lives as well. So this is very, very important. And it's also an opportunity when we feel that pain to release it, or to understand that it is there for a reason, to embrace it, to transcend this pain. Um, Also, a solar eclipse is a moment of concealment, and this is very, very important. It is a moment where the light is concealed, right? The light of the Creator, the light of Allah, the light of creation, our light is concealed. And so what happens is that it is a moment, as this light is concealed, in the ancient teachings, mystical teachings, we have to be really, really mindful of our energy and who was around us, and who we were spending time with, what we were allowing to come into our field, and especially more than that, being very cautious with the shadow, being cautious with the Lilith energy, right? Or as Yeshua calls it, Satana, right? The energy of darkness, the energy of, it's translated as the devil, but it's just a dark energy, right? And so really that's the energy we need to be mindful. If all of a sudden we're having thoughts of abandonment, pain, maybe even triggers that we haven't felt in a very long time, it's because there is a concealment of light. So that concealment of light is a test. It is a test to see how strong we are in our commitment with ourselves, and also in our commitment with our spiritual path. Remember, anytime there is a concealment and something is activated, we're actually being tested. And so I'm the type of person that, and maybe you're like this as well, and if you are, you can share it in the feed. I don't really focus on the what can happen in an eclipse, and as it is written in Western astrology, I feel that it's too much, right? I think that if we understand the ancient teachings of concealment and revelation when eclipses come, and that they're very strong energies that break us, we can really tune into the essence of why eclipses happen, right? And this is really, really important, because if we get caught up in everything else, then we really don't understand the activations that we're receiving and the essence of the wisdom teaching. And so this is something that I did want to share as well. And remember that this is an opportunity always for transformation, because any type of darkness or concealment of the light is an opportunity for profound spiritual work. And it's also, again, a time for introspection and strengthening our commitment. And remember that there is an interplay of light and darkness during an eclipse. And so this reminds us, and it's also a reminder on this day to search for balance, to bring more balance into our life. Light and darkness represent these opposing forces. Well, what are the opposing forces within our lives, right? And maybe we're feeling like we want to move forward, but something is pushing us back. Maybe we're feeling that we want to do something, but we'd rather stay in our comfort zone. And I really want us to focus on these. And when I say opposing forces, I'm not just talking about forces in duality. I'm talking about forces that we can really feel in our body. Like we're being pulled in two directions. So let's focus on that and understand how we can balance the energy and bring peace. And to balance opposing forces, it's really, really important to go into introspection, and also to listen to our intuition. Because if we keep going into the mind to understand, do I move forward or do I move back? We're going to be rocking like this the whole time, right? And so we tap into our intuition and maybe take a few steps forward to see what happens. If we're not comfortable, we can move one step back. Not all of the steps back. Take 3 or 4 steps forward. If we want to stop, take just 1 step back. And so we can do all of this in a very balanced way without feeling any trauma, right? Or fear, fear of the unknown. We have this great fear of the unknown, where the unknown is where the infinite potential lies. The unknown is where we're going to find that new version of ourselves that isn't here now. If we knew, if we could visualize that dimension of ourselves, it would just be the same. It would, if we want to grow, right, and evolve, we shouldn't be able to see that higher dimension. It has to happen through an initiation. And so we can take also this eclipse day to focus on that. And we need to remember that it's really important anytime we have a solar eclipse to do meditative and reflective practices, body practices, physical practices, really, really important. And so saying all of that, I just love Nissan Aries because it is a moment to remember the whole story of the Passover, the whole story of the liberation, Egypt representing slavery, right? And it actually is connected to the neck, right, and the throat. And so part of moving away from that slavery is harnessing the power of the word and the voice, either by chanting and being cautious of what we say, right? Yeshua talks about this in the Gospel of Matthew. I read the Gospels in Aramaic, and he says, it's so important to understand what is coming out of our mouth. It's easy to put things into our mouth, but what is really dangerous is not so much the food that we're putting into our mouth, but the words that we are saying. They could be even more dangerous. And so when we leave this slavery and we go into freedom, the freedom requires initiative and leadership, but to be a leader within our own lives. And this whole story, when we see Moses, the high priest Aaron, and the prophetess Miriam, this beautiful family of brothers and sister. Actually, the novena, the 9-day devotional journey that we're doing, the first one of 2024, is Miriam's well, dedicated to the prophetess Miriam in this powerful portal. And the purpose of this 9-day devotional gathering is to break away from what is keeping us as slaves and move forward into freedom, move forward into our mission and to a higher dimension of ourselves that is just actually waiting to be manifested. And so when we see this Egypt symbolizing slavery and the desert, freedom, that desert is like that period, that what we have to cross, that inner journey that we have to cross with all of the challenges so we can get to the other side, right? And so we just can't go from slavery into freedom. There needs to be an initiation. There needs to be a process. And within that initiation, in that process, there are moments of doubt, there are moments of loneliness, and there are moments that we want to return to our comfort zone. Just like when Moses went into the desert to find out, okay, now what do I need to do? And when he came back, everyone wanted to go back to Egypt. They wanted to eat the spicy food. They didn't want to receive the food from the manna, the heavenly food. And they had taken the jewelry of the women to create a golden calf, right? And the golden calf is a symbol. It's not even about, right, making something tangible into a deity. It was about honoring something that was external, right? So they wanted to go back to their comfort zone. They didn't know what was coming. That fear of the unknown made them create the golden calf. And that golden calf is a symbolism for the veil, our veiling, right? Not being able to align with our truth and not understanding that when we go into our freedom, there is a moment where we have to be broken. We have to go through the chaos. To get to the other side, there is an initiation, right? And all this time in the desert, remember Miriam, the prophetess Miriam, became sick. Also, when she became sick, there was no water, right? There was no life, there was no sustenance, right? Just think of what the desert means as our own symbolism. We need to bring water into the desert. And that water symbolizes the divine feminine presence and wisdom. And so Lady Wisdom and wisdom is what is ultimately going to take us into our freedom. And so saying all of this, now we can go into the reading. Okay, and so the cards that came up are absolutely beautiful. Um, even the color scheme is so connected, right? We've got Shekhinah with the gold and the blue, and we've got Mirai Nukhra with the yellow and the gold. Now this is very interesting because Mirai Nukhra keeps coming out. We have in the Mary Magdalene Priestess and Priest training, we have a Telegram group. And I think it was this morning or yesterday, I can't even remember. We all had this card come out. And so it's not only coming out in the classes that I teach and the trainings, but it's also coming out individually for other people who have these oracle cards as well. So I found that very, very interesting. So there's a powerful message coming from Media Nukhra. So before we go into the bait spread, and a bait spread is a 2-card spread. Bait is the second letter of the Aramaic Hebrew alphabet, and many meanings. One of them, womb, house, right? And also something birthing, right? It is the first letter of the creation story. It's a very important letter. So the Bereshit, something being birthed. And remember that Mirai Nukhra, I've talked about this card before. She represents Mary Magdalene in another name. The Nazarenes called her Mirai Nukhra, and they believe that she was an embodiment of the goddess of light. And so she came from a very wealthy family. Her father was a high priest, and she left everything to follow the teachings of Yeshua. She left her very comfortable life. She went to dress in white, and the Nazarenes were seen as an Essene community, and she even walked barefoot for a while to go into humility, right? And so Mirai Nukhra just means medium of the light. And Shekhinah, the divine feminine presence. And so when these 2 cards come out together, it's very interesting, but because we're doing a reading to receive a message, not just for this, well, of course, for Nissan, this new cycle of Nissan and Aries, but this cycle happening now, right? And so in this present moment, what is happening? If we read the field, right? If we just connect with the energy all around us, the energy of the eclipses, right? We need to control our anger. We need to control duality. We need to control the opposing forces. The heart is being concealed, right? So we need to make sure that we're breathing into the heart, doing a lot of practices, right? Yoga and dance practices that open up the heart. If not, our heart can be closed. And so we're dealing with this, and also we're dealing in this Mercury retrograde where everything is just slow and communication can be strained, right? And so the message that we are receiving is about, 1, there is an importance in being humble and staying grounded, right? And so when we go into the Nissan Aries portal, so much fire is activated, so much mission is activated, so much inspiration and life force and kundalini is activated that if we move away from the humility, there is the possibility of allowing the ego, right? Just opening the door to the ego and allowing the ego to go wild, right? Aries does represent that energy in the shadow, right? And so the first thing this spread is telling us is that we need to remain humble, we need to remain present, and we need to remain grounded, right? And the Shekhinah with the drum is reminding us to remain grounded so we can remember our spiritual path and commit to that spiritual path. And remember, we talked about this in the eclipse. So it is about really grounding that spiritual path and focusing on that spiritual path and practice as well. Another thing that is coming out here is to release. We talked about the opposing forces, and here it's to release the limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs that have been with us for a very, very long time, but limiting beliefs that are really causing those opposing forces to be painful, right? And so it's all about a leap of faith, and the strong message here is to go into spiritual practice. That may be drumming, chanting, prayer, yoga, but take a lot of time to go into spiritual practice. Now, what is the long message for this new lunar cycle? Because we also want to receive the message that is coming in for the whole portal. Well, there's a strong message here on purity, right? And the process of purification is so important when we're wanting to manifest more of our mission. And we are all here to deliver something. In different moments of our lives, that deliverance may be different. What we bring in may be different, but it's always for something. And so it's always to manifest something. Mira Nukra is reminding us that we need to go into a process of purification. Purification of our thoughts, purification of the body, right? Purification of our energy is really, really important so that we can see with clarity, move forward and open up, right? The Red Sea, so we can cross the Red Sea. It's an initiation, right? And Shekhinah is, with Midai Nukra, telling us that when we purify our thoughts, our words, our energy, our vessel is bigger. Our vessel expands for us to hold her energy. And this is the biggest gift that we can receive, because to co-create with the divine feminine presence is to co-create with life. It is to co-create with the tree of life, not the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's the tree of death, which is necessary, right? The tree of life, to co-create with the tree of life, to co-create with life, with Chayeh, as it is said in Aramaic, and also to co-create with creation. And so it is a beautiful message. And let's just go into a little bit of embodiment. We are going to chant Miryai Nuchra. We're going to chant medium of the light, calling in this powerful energy of light. And Mary Madden, as the embodiment of Shekhinah, the divine feminine presence, we can ask her to guide us from slavery into freedom, and may that initiation that we're having in this whole month, this powerful initiation, we ask her to bless this initiation and to bring us clarity, strength, wisdom, and focus. That's a very, very powerful vibration. Media Nukhra. Very powerful. I could just feel the activations coming in, especially in the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, and a lot in the heart. And so I really feel that this energy of closing the heart, we really need to open it, right, during this portal. And one of the things that we can find in this beautiful month of Nissan Aries is a really strong connection with our mission. And if you are interested in learning more about the Aramaic creationist spirituality, biblical Gnostic astrology, this is a teaching that I do in the Mary Mountain Priestess and Priest training, but I do write articles and I do share things here on YouTube. So make sure that if you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be great. That way this can expand a little bit more, because we are all in need of these teachings. And when we create a sacred circle of these teachings, they even ground more into the Malkuta, this physical realm of the kingdom. And if you have any questions, if you want to leave a reflection, please share. I really love to read all of you. So I am sending you so much love. Ahava.